Hello everyone. Today we're going to put on the rear fender eliminator kit from Yoshimura. Got this in from Brock's Performance, and I'm going to go through the process of removing the fender, steps that you're going to need to do, tools that you're going to need to have, and then take you step by step through the process. So this is going to go through that whole process of eliminating the rear fender and putting on the eliminator kit from Yoshimura. My recommendation, as you can see here, is to get yourself a set of tools that are going to work for you. There's other videos out there that say, hey, all you need is an Allen wrench. Well, guess what? Those Allen wrenches will not work. You're going to need to get yourself some metric T-wrenches you can from Husky, and no product endorsement here, but I went out and got myself some Husky Allen wrenches, both metric and SAE. And the one that you're going to need is number 5, the number 5 T-wrench, Allen wrench, to take these bolts out because they're a little hard to get to. You're going to need to have some length to your wrench to get that out. And trust me, it's worth the investment to get these wrenches because most things are metric nowadays, and you're going to need to have that length to get to those hard places to get those bolts out. So again, Husky, the wrench number 5. And so this is the box they got in today. Let's take a look what they sent me. So again, from Yoshimura, the eliminator kit. Good old Brock's. They have to put in their logos here. And, you know, there you go, Brock's Performance. And let's get this guy out of here and see what the guy looks like. So they give you a nice little package here. And going through that process to get that stuff installed. Let's see what else they some more product endorsements from Brock's, and that's about it. So luckily I was able to pull the installation material off the internet to download and go through this process. So what I'm going to do next is show you where these bolts are at on the H2. And so here's my H2, and got the rear panel off, the little compartment back there that shows you that you got not much room there to work with. But once you take that off, you want to take a look inside, and you'll notice you got a couple of plugs there that you're going to have to get out of the way. But there's the one bolt. There's actually 3 bolts that you got to remove to get the rear fender off. So that's number 1. The other one's right to the left of it underneath the wires. And there's one way down there you're going to have to try to get to somehow to get that last one off, which is going to be a humdinger. So we'll see if I can get that sucker out of there. Anyways, those are the 3 bolts you got to take off. And you're going to remove this rear fender here off the H2. And hopefully by the time I get done, you'll have a nice looking back of your bike with this rear fender from Kawasaki removed altogether. So hang on, I'm going to pause for a minute and I'll be right back. Alright, so I got one of the bolts out here, that guy right there. The next one is underneath these wires. You're going to have to remove the wires out of the way to get to that other bolt. And that guy is right underneath this guy, so you have to pull and bend him back. He's like a little supporting mechanism for your wires, so you can get to that next bolt. The one that's going to be the hardest is the one closest towards the front. That guy is underneath this lip right here, so you can't get a good angle on it. So I'm going to try to get to that bolt after I get this guy done here. So that's number 2, and one last one to go after that. So hang on. Be right back. All right, so I'm getting closer to getting the rear fender assembly off. There's actually a total of 4 screws that you got to remove. This guy is the last one way down here. Probably can't see because of the light, but there it is right there. And so my recommendation is to, one, get yourself a light that you can plop into your back unit here, so you can see where these screws are at. Secondly, I actually had to go out and get a metric set of wrenches to get the number 5 wrench, smaller than the 5 standard, because trust me, this guy will not work. It's too long. You need the short stock to be able to get the angle to turn that screw out. So My recommendation is, if you don't have it already, go out and buy yourself a short length metric set of wrenches, because you're going to need the number 5 to take the 4 bolts out. So once I get the rear assembly off, I'm going to go ahead and then put in the brackets for the new Yoshimura Fender kit replacement, and go from there. But again, get yourself these wrenches, and the short guy is definitely the one that you want. All right, so I finally got that 4th screw out, and lo and behold, you do have to have some small hands to get that screw out, because you got to do it by hand. Because while you're holding that last screw, or I should say taking that last screw out, you need to hold the fender assembly, because it'll just drop down on the ground. Now this fender assembly has a cover plate. This cover plate here that you're going to have to take off, and that has 3 screws that just hold it into place. So that comes off, and then from there you can get to your turn signals for both left and right. These guys are tied down, so you'll have to cut those off so that you can get the wires out. I would mark them left, right, because this guy, when I took it off, I just flipped it around. So this is how it goes up there in the assembly into the back of the unit. So once you take it down, you'll need to flip it around so that you can get to your wires. You're going to have to take this light off and this turn signal light off as well in order to get to put these guys back on the new assembly, and then reroute your wires. So getting there closer but closer, and so far it's taking a little bit of time to get those screws out. Actually, that's the thing that's taking the longest. It's just those 4 screws. So more to come, and next I'll show you what's going to happen once I get the whole assembly put together. All right, to continue on the efforts to get the Yoshimura rear replacement kit put together and back on the bike, one word of advice, and that is, when you take off the rear license plate fender unit, which is this guy right here, there is a plate that goes on top that you want to take off. Also, there is a bolt that bolts this onto this section of the license plate rear fender that you're going to want to take this off so that you can get to your turn signals to take them off. You'll notice that this guy has a bracket that is used to hold it in place, and then you got to pop that off to be able to pull this guy through to remove this guy completely from the unit. The other thing that you'll need also is a Phillips screwdriver. These side plates you can bend to get to the Phillips so that you can get the screw out. You don't want to strip it. So my suggestion is to get this whole thing assembly removed from the back unit so that you can get to your turn signals and take them out without any damage. I also marked my turn signals just in case before taking them off, so I know which is left, which is right, which is just a good practice to have so that you know what's what. So again, take this rear fender bracket off, take the face plate off to get to the wires to take them apart, and then you want to take this whole assembly off from this part of your back fender to get the turn signals to come off. So going to continue on here, and just want to give you a little piece of advice. All right, slowly but surely getting closer and closer to getting this thing done. One word of advice, and that is when you're putting the new assembly bracket on, you need to put on the bolt, the washer, and the nut. The 2 here on the top are somewhat easy to get to, but the other ones that are down below are not. And what I did is I used a magnetic tool here to grab the washer and then take the washer and then put that over the bolt. And then once the washer was on, I could then take the bolt and put the bolt on, or I'm sorry, the nut on top of the bolt. And that worked out pretty well for the small confines of that back unit. So again, not the most simplest thing to do when you have really small quarters to put this on, but again, my recommendation is to get yourself a magnetic tool so that you can slip this washer over the bolt and then put the nut on top, and then you can just torque it down after that. So couple of pointers, just trying to make it easy for you guys if you're going to do this to your H2. Again, not the easiest thing, but just take time and one step at a time and you'll get it done. All right, so I got the new assembly on, so now I got to put together the assembly that attaches to it, and then from there we should be pretty much close to getting wrapped up. So we're getting close to the end now, so time to turn the attention to the turn signals, no pun intended. And as you can see here, you have to put it through its bracket and put the rubber through the hole and get that seated just right, and then you have to put the plate back within the rubber gasket so that you can then screw the remaining bracket, which is this guy right here, that seats it in permanently with the Phillips screwdriver. So again, take your time. I used a little screwdriver to put that little metal bracket back into where it needs to go within the rubber gasket, and it seats just fine. So at this point, once I get this done, these will go on to the housing, and then hopefully I can align my license plate up to the bracket. I've heard some people had to drill holes to get that to get done, so that'll be my next step. And last but not least is the wiring and get that put all back into place. So little by little, getting there. But again, get yourself a couple of tools. Again, the metric wrenches are key to getting this done. All right. So last piece will be getting it all back and put the assembly back together. All right. So the last thing I need to do is put the seat back on, but I do want to show you what this thing looks like when it's lit up and running. So I'm going to crank over just the electrics on the H2 so we can get that, see what that looks like. And then I'll turn on the left signal, come back around here. As you can see, looks pretty good. So far so good. Right signal. Yeah, that looks good too. And then last but not least, the hazard, just to make sure everything's working. Got to get the hazards to flash, and voila. So there you have it, the Yoshimura replacement fender kit for the H2. It took a little while. Trust me, you have to have all the right tools to get this to work. Here's a little bit of what I had to do this electrical kit, electrical tape, some wire cutters, the millimeter hex keys are definitely what you need, a 4 and a 5 to get the job done. But then after that, lo and behold, the sucker looks pretty good, and voila. So there you have it. Any questions, comments, let me know. More than happy to help any fellow rider on an H2, but good luck.